That's one small step for man.
Out for the. Hello everyone, welcome back to Here's What's Going On podcast with me, AJ. We're jumping right into the ABC's AJ's Book Corner. Again, we're reading and finishing up The Women's War, Queen of the Unwanted. This is book 2 in the series. And we know she did something with the Seer's Potion and a memory potion, but we also told Kaylee that she did not think the spell would be reversed, and Kaylee believed she was in earnest. I can't let the fate of women's will rest on one person's judgment, especially when that person has already shown questionable judgment in regards to Mother Marisol. Shanlix nodded. I'd say we have to act on the assumption that she has invented some new kind of Seer's Potion. However, I can't believe it would truly lead to the reversal of Mother Brenna's spell. You've seen the letter she sent out. She and her daughter and her granddaughter were specifically bred over the course of generations to have the magical powers and foresight needed to cast the spell. A man with no legs might watch an acrobat tumble to his heart's content, but that doesn't mean he can do a cartwheel himself. But can we take that chance? Alice would never forgive her mother for casting that spell, never forgive her for the thousands of innocent lives that were lost, or for knowingly sacrificing Janelle. But that was a far cry from saying she wanted the spell to be reversed. It wouldn't bring all those dead back to life, and the last thing she wanted was to see women lose control over their own bodies once more. So you think we should condemn Marisol to death without trial and hope? We can convince King Calvin that we had nothing to do with her murder? Shanlix asked doubtfully. Alice managed a rueful grin. Well, no, that doesn't seem like much in the way of a viable option, especially not when we have only Sister Nora's word to go on. You said Kaylee was hopeful that Marisol was interested in joining us if we could get her safely away. Shanlix lifted a shoulder. That's what Kaylee says, despite my strict instructions that she was not to make any offers on our behalf. Alice smiled drolly. Oh, but Kaylee assures us she hasn't made any offers. She merely suggested possibilities. Shanlix snorted, though Alice was sure her Grand Magus had not been surprised that Kaylee had a will of her own. It wasn't possible to know the girl and not see that. Besides, Alice continued, if Marisol truly has invented a Seer's Potion that would allow us to see into the past, that speaks of a talent that could be useful to us. Shanlix did not look convinced. When it comes right down to it, I don't think Nora's hate is unreasoning. Something about Marisol seems to rub just about everyone except Kaylee the wrong way. Alice wrinkled her nose in distaste. She herself had spent very little time with the Kalpari delegation, but with only a couple of brief encounters, she had to admit that she had much the same impression as Shanlix. Spite practically radiated from both the HWGO and the Abbess, and if not for the complications, she'd be more than happy to see the last of them sooner rather than later. But you also don't think we should allow her to return to Kalpar with whatever formula she's concocted, Alice said. Shanlix sighed. No. If there's any chance that potion of hers could work the way she claims, she shivered. And you don't think we should kill her? Just because Marisol is an unwanted woman doesn't mean King Calvin can afford to let a member of his delegation be murdered without reprisal. I suspect Marisol's death would be all the excuse he needed to ally with Alta to destroy us. No, I don't think that's a great option either. So again, we're in a situation where Kaylee is a blind, newly married woman who got married to Queen Alice's brother, who really actually loves Shanlix. It's a long story, y'all. You have to read the book, I swear. But she found friendship in Abbess Marisol. And Marisol is very bitter. She's very angry. She did something that caused her to be an unwanted woman, which was to poison people. She's killed one woman already, the previous Abbess, before she took the position. She's also having sexual relations with the guy who basically put her in to be the Abbess. But she's also under her own kind of timer of she's only the Abbess on a condition of she has to find a potion to undo the women's spell. Which was cast, which allows women to be able to make potions and things like that and have power and also have freedom. So, yeah, it's a lot going on right now. Basically, she's overhearing this conversation. Marisol's going to have to figure out if she wants to be a villain or she wants to live a better life. And like but the thing with her character is she's so flippin' bitter that it blinds her to everything. But I feel like she's kind of turning a corner here, but I don't know what she's going to do next, because she's probably going to try to go kill Nora after Nora tried to rat her out. But it just kind of shows you in those two characters, Nora and Marisol, that bitterness and hatred and anger and rage can really just make you a different person. But what if you could find a commonality and become friends? And that kind of leads into this episode. We're discussing the benefits of friendship. Being able to have friends is for me a gift. I was talking to one of my friends about how he was dating a girl and revealed to me that she didn't have any friends. And I said, that's a red flag, my boy. I said, what do you mean her mom's her only friend? You know, a person without friends is a bit of a red flag to me. Yes, some people are loners and don't have friends, but I just wonder how much of people not having friends is because of them and their character. You know, not to blame, but I do question why people don't have friends. Like, yes, sometimes it's just people are better alone and being loners. Other times things like depression, mental illness, but sometimes it's you, like your character sucks. But in the article, The Power of Friendship and Feeling That We Matter by Rabia Karamali, EDDMAPP, discusses how grounding it can be to be around your friends. My friends do that for me. It's not like, it's not like going on a cruise or we go on trips. It's usually like, it could be us going to the top of a mountain, hiking to the top of a mountain and talking. It's driving around listening to music and enjoying each other's company and not having to mask. And I feel enriched after being around my friends, not depleted. And as an introvert, that means a lot. The article discusses how friendships contribute to our mental health by providing value. And I've been blessed enough to have been best friends with my two best friends for over 20 years. I know that's like not normal, given my life. I'm blessed to have longer, friendships with people. And I think that's because of how intentional I am about having friend relationships with people, because I know what it's like to lose people. It's a gift of loss, kind of. But having friendships definitely assists with loneliness, self-worth, and your overall well-being. My best friends have assisted me with, their motivation, their love, and seeing me at my good and bad and accepting me where I'm at. And that's really helpful. What I'm happy and grateful for is being able to read. A couple weeks ago, there was a video going around where kids could not read the word silhouette and extraordinary. I told one of my siblings about this, who's, been in the education system for a while. And they're like, I'm not surprised. And I said I wasn't surprised either, because I've heard some of the stories you told me. And I was just kind of like, yeah, like these kids are not, I don't know what they're doing, bro. But I am thankful to be able to read and write. And it's so influential to me because, like, that's one of my things of my hobbies and my creativity is being able to write and have an imagination. And, I didn't grow up with AI, thankfully. I didn't grow up with having something to think for me. I grew up with encyclopedias. I grew up with, dictionary thesaurus, and figure it out, It was, it wasn't a dynamic environment of information like it is now. And it's almost overly dynamic now. Like it's almost too much. It's all consuming information all the time, and there's always new information, and it's constantly evolving, and it's going a little bit too fast that people aren't even getting to grasp the concept of it. And I was telling my sibling this, and I said, what I do every day at my job? I have to read and comprehend stuff every day at my job. And I said, these kids can't even get the read part. Like, they couldn't even sound out the word. Like, I was just like, oh no. But I'm grateful to be able to read. I told my sibling, I said, I'm so glad I'm not illiterate. And I know, like, some of that is like systematic, but some of it is the fault of the parents, of course. Some of it's the fault of the school system. Some of it's the fault of the kid. And you don't want to do anything. You got all information right in your hand, in your pockets daily. And you choose to use it for what you use it for. But it is what it is. The quote: Learn to deal with people for who they are, not who you want them to be. Life gets a lot easier when you stopped expecting apple juice from oranges. Being about going about just accepting people where they're at is a skill I'm consistently working on and have adapted to rather well. I stopped setting, I'm trying, like, really working hard on setting, like, not setting expectations for others. Just lead with openness and acceptance and let that be it, unless you show me something that would cause me to have to change. And in that situation where, like, I'm going to have to change, and set some boundaries with you on how I interact and how, things like that. But trying to just make sure that, you don't know what other people are going through and things like that too. Like, I think, like, I heard someone make a comment, that person's not disabled. She just got up and walked to the back of her truck. I said, first of all, not all disabilities are visual, physical disabilities you can see. That was the first thing I said. And they were like, oh, well, I really didn't, I said, I hear you. You can say what you want. Just because they don't look disabled doesn't mean they're not disabled, because not all disabilities are visual disabilities. But, just judging people based off what you see, that ain't really it. Not now. People are really out here struggling right now. But before I go, be sure to check out the show notes. Also, check out my books on Amazon titled Poems to Cry to in the Dark and Love Letters Never Sent to Myself, and leave a 5-star rating. Other than that, I don't have anything else. I'm glad you're still here, and I hope you have the day you deserve. Bye!
One giant leap